Hey folks, this is Meredith from the Papery Craftery, and today we are doing something a little bit different. We're going to be starting a new series I'm calling Back to Basics. We're going to be showing all the basic techniques of quilling from start to finish for those who are maybe just starting out or might need a little bit of a refresher or just some new techniques to pick up. And for the first class we're doing today is going to be the tight coil. And for a tight coil, you can use any quilling tool. I have my favorite needle tool here with a wooden handle. I can't find these anymore. I wish I could. I would buy about 10 of them, but it is my favorite tool to use. Most beginning quillers, I think, do feel a little bit more comfortable with a slotted tool. So I have one here that has both sides if you want to have all options. And then here is just a regular standard slotted tool. It's quite old, but it has that little opening at the end that's going to grip the paper. I'm going to be demonstrating on the Savvy slotted tool today from Quill Creations. It's very easy to turn, it's good for your wrists, and it has a very narrow slotted end, so that will make the crimped end a little bit smaller, and we'll talk about that later on. For glue, I do just have my Elmer's glue all in a needle nose container, and I just picked up this clear glue, this new one for me from Aleene's. I like much better than my old clear glue. If you're going to be making coils with dark colored paper, you might want to use a clear glue instead. Now, before we get started actually making the coils, I just want to mention that you can use the same technique for any size quilling paper, any width at all. So I have the standard 1/8 inch wide quilling paper I use for most projects. I have some wider paper and some really skinny 1/16 or even a 2mm wide paper as well to use. So to start off, we're going to make a very traditional tight coil. So to do that, you can use any length of paper. I'm using it straight off the pack here, so it's about 17 inches long, this particular paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear off both ends of the paper. The reason I tear off my quilling paper when I'm making coils is because tearing leaves these very small little fibers at the end that really help grip the glue once I'm sealing my coil. Makes it very nice and smooth. Doesn't have kind of a lump at the end where the paper stops at the end of the coil. And I tear off both ends because sometimes I forget which end I tore off. So it's just easier for me just to tear off both ends right away. Now to start making a tight coil, I'm going to put the very end right in my slotted tool and then just start turning. That's pretty much all quilling is just rolled up paper. I like to put one finger behind the coil and then my thumb right on the end. I think that helps it sort of line up a little bit nicer. You might still have to adjust it by pushing from the underneath, but I just find it makes a nice guide this way. Now, the whole idea of a tight coil is that it is not opened up at all. None of the paper gets to relax and spring open. It stays completely wound. And to help that along, I like to keep it on my tool, even if I'm using a needle tool. I keep it on the tool with my finger, apply a little bit of glue to the end, and then just keep rolling and pressing just to get that nice and sealed. Just takes a couple seconds, and once that glue sets, you can push from the underside. If you're using a slotted tool, push right up from the bottom, and that is your tight coil. It's just completely wound up, no space between the layers of paper. That's all there is to it. Most basic thing you can do. Now let's say you want it much smaller. You can do these any size. This is about 1 inch of paper. I only have one torn end this time because it's pretty easy to remember which side is which for this size. And then the same thing, I just roll it all the way up to the end and then add just a little dot of glue right at the bottom. And then just wind it up. These tiny little tight coils can also be known as pegs. I use them a lot to fill in spaces. There you go, super duper small. And let's say you wanted a tight coil that's really large, maybe. All that is just gluing your paper strips by their torn ends, end to end, just to make very long strips. So there's 2 torn ends. I'm going to attach them together, kind of a sandwich style. really only about a 1/4 inch or so. I know there are some people that prefer not to glue their papers together and roll them up and I add them as they go. I have never had good luck with that. So I prefer just to glue them and then just start rolling. Try to keep those papers as straight as you can as you're gluing them together. That's about it. Now I will say there may be a time when your roll gets so big that it is a little bit harder to roll it on the tool. It starts to get a little unruly. You can always take your coils off of your tool. You'll be able to sense when it feels like it's just not steady anymore. You can roll it by hand. A lot of quillers roll all their coils by hand. It's all okay. This is whatever makes it easier. You're going to get the same process in the end. You just have to make sure to hold your coil as you're gluing it, especially if you don't want it to open up at all, as in these tight coils. So I've got this one rolled all the way to the end, and then just a little bit of glue in the same way as before, and you can make these as big as you need to. You can add as many papers as you're looking for. There we go. So now we have slightly larger, very tiny, and sort of a medium guy there in the middle. And then I have the other two widths that I showed in the beginning. That blue to be wider paper, and the green is very narrow paper, all made in completely the same way, just a matter of not letting them off your tool. So now let's say that you want to start making things with your tight coil. So what can you do? There are very cute flowers out there just made from a center and then some petals all around. You can totally go that route. Maybe you want to try something different and make a small bowl. So I have this glass bowl here I used as a mold, and then just layered different colors and sizes of tight coils in circles going up the sides. Add a little bit of glue wherever they connect, and then once it's dry, it pops right out. And now it's a little bowl. I could have definitely gone up a little higher on the sides, but time was a bit of a factor in this, so this is where we are. My favorite thing to do with tight coils is to make 3D quilling. And what that usually entails is doming out your coils to make different shapes. You can use a tool like this. You can push from the center with your fingers. I have an entire video on using quilling molds that they make just for this purpose. Once you have the domed shape you're looking for, you simply add a bit of glue to the underside here, and then you're going to use a small paintbrush to push that glue all around. You want to make sure it hits every inch of that dome because that's what is going to keep the shape. Once the glue dries, it's hitting all the layers and you'll have your shapes. So you can make some balls here, some spheres with different colors. That is made with the same technique. One of my very first projects I ever made was making little acorns with real acorn tops. Those are just domed tight coils. I forgot they had glitter, so there's a little bit of glitter everywhere now. On some later versions where I made the paper tops, yep, there's that glitter. Now it's all over my hands. That's okay. Get that out of there. You could also maybe make some fruit. I have some cherries here. These are just domed tight coils put together and then push down on the top to add a little stem. And the blueberries, same idea, just tight coils with a little bit of a detail on the top to make them look blueberry-like. Even the bowls here, these are just really, really big tight coils made with lots and lots of strips of paper and then molded to look like a little bowl. This one's the same, but different colors of brown to kind of give it a wood grain type look. Every one of these projects I'm showing today, I will have links to in the description box, including this umbrella. Maybe 3D quilling isn't really your jam, but you want to use tight coils. These are different rainbow colored tight coils, and also some of those pegs I mentioned. The handle is tight coils. The raindrops is a technique called wheat ear, but I lay all that out step by step in the video for this umbrella. I know you can handle it. It really, really will be totally awesome. Let's say now you want to do something a little bit different than just your standard tight coil in a dome. You can, before you glue it, let it open up very, very slightly. This is not a true looser coil. This is just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. We're letting it relax. We add some glue. We push that down. Just that tiny bit of air between a couple of those layers of paper are going to make it a little bit easier to pinch, so we can make it into a teardrop shape. When I like to make my teardrops, and we'll get into this a little bit more in that video, I like to do my pinch right at the ending seam. It kind of hides it a little bit. After you do that pinch, you can push in from the bottom a little bit, and all of a sudden, we have a fairly realistic looking flower petal. We're going to put some glue in just like we did before because we want to keep that shape. We're going to brush all that glue around to make sure that it hits every spot. And then once that dries, we can put those together in different ways for different flowers. So let's say you want to go tropical. We have some orchids here. This orchid, completely made, other than one tiny piece, completely made from tight coils. The yellow center is a tight coil. These were tight coils that were shaped in different ways. These white petals, again, tight coils. So it might look like the most simple basic shape, but you can do all kinds of things with it. Cherry blossom here. The back here is a tight coil. It was on a stem at one point, so ignore that little bit of glue. The petals are the same. The stamen in the center, I show you how to make in that video. Again, very simple. You can handle this no matter what your level is. These pansy here, this is a hugely popular video. People really, really like this craft. It's very graphic and very eye-catching. It's almost entirely made of tight coils. And then what do we have here? This is a huge throwback. This is a really, really long time ago. This succulent is just the same flower petal shape, but flipped upside down more or less. Same idea. And then they're just layered and shingled around each other to make a paper succulent. If you want to play around with even more realistic looking flower petals, you can grab some of that really thin paper, that 1/16 inch, 2 millimeter, they make even 1 millimeter paper. And it's the same technique, just shingled around each other. You can make very sweet little flower buds. And just as a reminder, every one of these projects is going to be linked in the description box for this video. And I'm also going to include a video on using the needle tool in case you want to move past that slotted tool. You're ready to try the needle tool. I will link to some tips that I have for that as well. As always, don't forget to leave any questions you have in the comment section, and I will answer those as soon as I can. And also in the description box, in addition to all the videos about the projects that I posted here, I will leave a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can support my channel with a little bit of extra love. You can even take advantage of some of the freebies I have there if you like. It's always greatly appreciated. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be around for the next video, and I will see you then. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.